If your child is visibly exhausted, glazed eyes, falling apart over nothing, and can barely hold it together, but the moment bedtime starts, they're suddenly wired, escalating, or falling completely apart, there's an explanation for it. I'm Diane Lusney, and I work with mums of kids on the autism spectrum, aged 4 to 12, who also have sleep issues. Your child's behavior is telling you what's happening on the inside, but we aren't always picking up on what their behaviors are trying to tell us. And that's what this video is about. Point 1. The engine that won't stop. You've probably noticed that your child doesn't just gradually wind down at the end of the day. Instead, they get louder, sillier, more sensitive, more reactive, right at the time when everything around them is supposed to be slowing down. And if you're like most moms I talk with, you've wondered, why does this keep happening? They look exhausted at dinner time and afterwards. How are they this activated right now? Here's what's happening underneath that. Your child's nervous system has been working hard all day, constantly processing every sound, every transition, every social demand, every unexpected moment. Every time the plan changed, every time something was too loud, too bright, too much. By evening, that system is over the top and it isn't winding down on its own. At least, not in the time allotted. So, it's evening, almost bedtime, and it's still running at full steam ahead because it doesn't have a quicker off switch the way a neurotypical nervous system does. Think of it like a car engine that's been running at high gear all day. You've pulled into the driveway and the drive is over, but the engine is still revving because no one has downshifted on the way to the driveway and it can't be slammed into park. The outside vehicle has stopped, but the inside is still revving. It has not stopped. So when bedtime starts and your child escalates, that's not defiance, that's not manipulation. That's an engine that hasn't done its downshifting yet. And if you've been wondering whether you're doing something wrong, you're not. You're working with a nervous system that needs something that most bedtime advice doesn't account for. Their nervous system has been described as more sensitive and reactive. Does this feel or sound familiar? This is the kind of information I like to share. Subscribe, and YouTube will keep us connected. Point 2. The transition is the trigger. When does bedtime fall apart? It usually doesn't fall apart at lights out. It falls apart earlier than that, often just before or when their bedtime routine begins, right? The moment they pick up the signals, or you say, okay, time to turn it off, or do whatever it is you usually do before you start the routine, it usually doesn't fall apart at the lights out moment. It falls apart earlier than that, often just before or when their bedtime routine begins. The moment they pick up the signals, or you say something like, okay, time to turn it off, or do whatever it is you usually do to start the bedtime routine. Your child's whole body changes. It can feel like a switch has flipped and feel like you caused the reaction, even though you didn't. That switch moment is real, and it makes complete sense once you understand what's happening. For kids on the spectrum, transitions aren't just inconvenient, they're a nervous system event. Moving from one activity to another, especially moving from doing something that now feels safe to something that has a number of transitions and not a lot of enjoyment. Think of it as having fun in a canoe or a boat, but the rental time is over and it's time to go to the dock. That's moving from a fun to a not so fun activity with instability in between. And an already activated nervous system doesn't want to leave a safe activity, especially because there is a transition point, which means the meltdown at pajama time isn't about pajamas. It's about a nervous system that needed more runway than it got. It's about learning how to speak in the nervous system language. There are many ways to connect to our nervous systems. If you want to support your child, download my T-Zone system for relaxation and sleep for simple and quick activities. The link is in the description below. Point 3. Why the routine isn't enough. Most moms I've talked with have already tried everything they could think of. Earlier bedtime, later bedtime, melatonin, a stricter routine, a looser routine, a longer routine, a shorter routine, reward charts, a weighted vest, white noise, and some of it helped. Yay! But the core problem kept coming back, and that is exhausting in a different way because you're doing everything right and it's still not working. Not knowing what to do is exhausting. Most sleep advice, even good sleep advice, is built for a nervous system that self-regulates fairly easily. It assumes that if the conditions are right, such as consistent timing, a dark room, calm environment, a predictable routine, the body will follow. And for a lot of kids, that's true. But your child's nervous system doesn't self-regulate the same way. The conditions being right on the outside don't automatically create the level of regulation and calm needed. Because the inside is still running, that engine we talked about, and even a good routine doesn't turn it off. Here's a way to think about it. Imagine trying to fall asleep while you have a smoke alarm going off. Maybe loudly, maybe not loudly, but persistently in the background. You can close the blinds, lower the lights, put on soft music, make the room perfect. But until that alarm stops, none of it reaches you. That could be what's happening with your child. The routine is the dark room and the soft music, but the alarm, the nervous system still running, is still going. That's not a routine problem. That's not a parenting problem. That's a nervous system that needs something the routine alone can't provide. What you can do. Tonight, just notice. Not bedtime itself, earlier than that. What time does your child's nervous system start to shift? When do they go from tired but okay to activated, reactive, or falling apart? You don't need to do anything differently yet. Just watch for the moment. Because once you see it clearly, consistently and reliably, you have something to work with. And start to consider what are the options for your child specifically to help them settle a bit at that moment. This is the first step to a pre-bedtime routine. It's all about awareness. Then once you have the awareness, action is not only easier, it's also more effective. I'll show you how to work with your child's revved up, hyped up, amped up nervous system before they start their bedtime routine in a way that will improve their bedtime routine in my next video.